damn it. How could they do this to me, again? My name is Violet, the responsible daughter, the invisible glue that holds my family together. I've always fixed their messes until one day everything snapped. And that's when I learned. Sometimes you have to destroy the perfect picture to finally see what's been hidden behind the frame all along. I had been looking forward to this trip for years. Years of overtime, saving every spare penny, and planning every detail meticulously. It wasn't just a vacation, it was a reward for all the sacrifices I'd made, a dream I'd worked so hard to make a reality for my family. My parents had never taken a trip like this before, and this was my way of showing them how much I appreciated everything they had done for me. Flights, luxury hotels, private tours, hand-picked restaurants, I had it all planned down to the smallest detail. The excitement in my chest as I loaded the car was palpable. I was about to make some unforgettable memories with the people I loved the most. But beneath that excitement, there was a layer of anxiety. It had taken a lot to get here. I kept checking the time as I packed the luggage into the trunk. My mom and dad had always been busy, but I had always tried to put them first. And now, finally I could give something back. This trip was supposed to be a reflection of all the love and care I had poured into them over the years. It was supposed to be about us, together, sharing something special. As I checked the clock again, 6 a.m., I forced a smile. My mom was always a bit late, but that was fine. She was my mom. It was funny how I never minded. But as I stood there, a small part of me, the part that had been tirelessly organizing everything, began to feel that familiar knot of impatience. It's fine, I told myself. We're here, and everything is going to be perfect. I glanced up and saw my sister Lauren emerging from the house. She was rolling her suitcase behind her. "What's going on?" I asked, a tightness forming in my chest. Mom looked at me, her face too cheerful for the situation. I couldn't put my finger on it, but something about the way she smiled seemed forced. "Oh, Violet, we decided Lauren should come instead of you," my mom said, the words coming out too easily. "She's been so stressed lately and she really needs this trip." My chest tightened, the blood draining from my face. I stared at them, feeling the heat rise to my cheeks. "Instead of me?" I asked, my voice trembling despite my effort to keep it steady. "Yes, sweetheart, you've been working so hard lately. You can always take another trip," she replied dismissively, as if I had pointed out something trivial. "Lauren really needs this right now." I stood there, paralyzed. All of my plans, all of my sacrifices, all of my hopes for this trip, and they were giving it away. To her. I turned to look at Lauren, who was already grinning like she had won some sort of prize. She didn't even have the decency to look guilty. Why is this happening? My mind raced. This wasn't just about a trip, it was everything I had been to them all these years. The one who made everything work, the one who picked up the slack. But when it came down to it, when it was time to choose, it was always Lauren. It had always been Lauren. "Thanks for understanding, SIS, she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness, as if she had just been granted some grand favor. The words stung like a slap. I forced a smile, but it felt more like a grimace. "Sure, Lauren, enjoy the trip," I said flatly, trying to mask the raw ache that was starting to swell inside me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break down right then and there, but instead I clenched my fists and kept my mouth shut. "I'm not important enough, am I?" The question lingered in my mind, gnawing at me, as I helped them with their luggage. "Thanks for driving us, Violet," my dad muttered, avoiding eye contact, handing me his suitcase like it was just another chore. I wanted to say something, anything, but I kept my mouth shut. I just nodded stiffly. The drive to the airport was suffocating. Lauren's voice filled the car, light and unbothered, chattering on about shopping in Paris, talking about TikToks and tours as if the world was exactly as it should be. She never once noticed how silent the rest of us were. Not once did she acknowledge the pain I was feeling. It didn't matter. I wasn't part of that we anymore. It had been replaced by her. The question was still there, unanswered. How could they choose her over me? I don't know why, but I kept replaying their words in my head over and over as we drove. Lauren needs this right now. It echoed in my mind like a constant buzz too loud to ignore. Every word felt like a nail driving deeper into me with each mile we got closer to the airport. The tightness in my chest didn't go away. In fact, it only grew worse. and by the time we reached the drop-off zone, my patience was hanging by a thread. "Lauren," I said, forcing a smile through gritted teeth, "are you excited about the trip?" My voice came out a little too flat, and I could feel the tension in the air. Lauren, completely unaware of the storm swirling inside me, leaned forward from the back seat with her usual wide-eyed enthusiasm. "Oh my gosh, Mom, did you see that TikTok about Paris?" she gushed. "I can't wait to go shopping there. Do you think we'll have time for that? Or will the tours take up the whole day?" I stared straight ahead, gripping the steering wheel as tightly as I could without breaking it. The words I wanted to say, the questions that burned in my chest, didn't leave my mouth. Instead, I nodded, barely able to contain the whirlwind of emotions inside me. "Of course, we'll figure it out when we get there," Mom said, her voice light and unbothered as if nothing was out of the ordinary. But there was something deeply wrong about the whole situation, something I couldn't just push aside. I wasn't part of their we anymore. I wasn't even part of this family's plans. It didn't matter how much I'd sacrificed, how hard I'd worked. In their eyes, Lauren always came first. I could see it so clearly now. It was like I had been invisible all along. I parked the car, my hands shaking as I helped unload their luggage. My mom gave me a hug, her embrace too tight, too sweet. "Thank you for understanding, sweetheart," she said, her voice carrying a tone of relief, like this was all my fault, like I was the one who should be grateful, like I should be okay with being left behind. "Sure, Mom," I mumbled, my voice barely audible. It was a lie. I wasn't okay. Lauren flashed a grin at me, completely oblivious to my internal turmoil. "Thanks, Violet," she said, her voice bright and fake. "You're the best." The words hit me like a slap, and I just stood there, watching them disappear into the terminal. My chest was tight, suffocating with anger, hurt, and disbelief. As I walked back to the car, I felt this overwhelming sense of emptiness settle over me. The drive back home was a blur, the silence between me and my parents thick with unspoken words. My mind was still racing, still questioning everything that had just happened. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shout at them, to make them understand how much they had hurt me. But I couldn't. The words were stuck in my throat, caught between the years of being the responsible one, the one who always did what was expected, the one who made sure everything went smoothly. "Thank you for driving us, Violet," my dad had said, his voice low, as if he wanted to disappear. He hadn't looked at me once. Just like my mom, he seemed to avoid my gaze, like he knew deep down that this wasn't right. But neither of them had said anything. Not really. When I got home, I sat in my car for a few minutes, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. I couldn't just go inside. Not yet. The anger was boiling inside me, but there was something else too. Something that felt like relief. For the first time in years, I didn't have to be the one to clean up their mess. I didn't have to make everything okay. I marched into the house, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let them enjoy this trip on my dime. As soon as I sat down at my laptop, the satisfaction started to settle in. I canceled the hotel reservations first, then the tours. I refunded the airline upgrades. They didn't deserve any of it. They didn't deserve my trip. I could almost hear my mom's voice in my head already. "Violet, why would you do that?" But I didn't care anymore. Not now. Not after everything they'd done. They had made their choice. Now they would have to live with it. The phone started buzzing the moment their flight landed, and I didn't pick up. I just stared at it, the vibration ringing through the room. I wasn't going to swoop in and save them, not this time. They could figure it out on their own. But when I finally answered, my mom's voice hit me like a tidal wave. "Violet, what did you do?" she demanded. "The hotel says the reservation was canceled. The tours aren't booked. What's going on?" I let her yell, let her rant. I didn't interrupt. When she finally took a breath, I spoke, my voice cold and calm, though every word cut. "I canceled them." The silence on the other end of the line stretched for what felt like an eternity. "Why would you do that?" she hissed, her voice full of disbelief. "You were supposed to understand. This was about Lauren." My chest tightened, and the words slipped out before I could stop them. "No, Mom, this was about me." The silence after I spoke felt suffocating, and for a moment, I thought maybe my mom would finally hear me. Maybe she would understand how deeply I had been hurt. but instead her voice came back, sharper, more defensive. "You don't get it, Violet," she snapped, her tone fraying with frustration. "This isn't about you. It's about Lauren needing a break, needing to get away from all the stress. You've always been the one who works, who takes care of everything. We thought you'd understand." Understand? Of course I understood. I understood that once again, it was always about Lauren. Always about what she needed, what she wanted. "You think I don't need a break?" I asked, my voice rising despite myself. "You think I haven't been stressed out, working my ass off to make this trip happen? And you replace me with her just like that?" I could feel the heat rising in my chest, the tightness in my throat, threatening to choke me. I wanted to scream, to let everything spill out, but instead, I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. I wasn't going to let them break me down again. Not this time. "Violet," my mom said, her voice suddenly softer, like she was trying to coax me, to reel me back in. "We didn't mean to hurt you. We just thought this would be good for Lauren." "Good for Lauren?" I repeated bitterly, disbelief creeping into my voice. "What about me, Mom? What about the effort I put in to make this trip perfect for all of us? Does that not matter? Does my time, my hard work, mean nothing?" There was a long pause, the line crackling with tension. I could almost hear her trying to find the right words, but there was nothing that could fix this. Nothing that could take away the sting of her dismissal. "You always go above and beyond, Violet. You're the one who makes everything happen," she said, her voice trembling now. "But Lauren, she's been struggling. We thought she needed this. We didn't think about it the way you do." I could feel the anger bubbling up again, threatening to spill over. "You never think about it the way I do you, Mom?" I said, the words slipping out before I could stop them. "You only ever see what Lauren needs. I'm just the one who makes it happen for everyone else. And when it's time to actually be a family, you replace me in a heartbeat." "I don't know what you want me to say," she said, her voice breaking. "I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean for this to happen." The apology was empty. I knew it was. I had heard it too many times before, hollow words that never meant anything. I let out a bitter laugh. "It's too late for that, Mom. You've made your choice. Now you'll have to deal with the consequences." "You've gone too far, Violet," she snapped back. "This isn't like you. You're punishing the whole family over a single decision." "Punishing? I'm not punishing anyone," I thought. "I'm finally standing up for myself." "I'm not punishing anyone," I said, my voice firm despite the tremor that ran through me. "I'm just not letting you walk all over me anymore. Not this time. I'm done being the one who cleans up everyone else's mess." There was a long silence on the other end. For a moment, I thought maybe she was finally listening. Maybe she was starting to realize how wrong they had been. But then her voice came back, cold and sharp. "You're being ridiculous, Violet. We thought you'd understand. Lauren needed this more than you." More than me. The words stabbed at me again, and I could feel the rage rising to the surface. But I held it in. This wasn't about them anymore. This was about me. "I don't care if Lauren needed it more," I said, my voice steady despite the fury that burned in me. "I don't care about her need for this trip. You took something that was mine and you didn't even ask. You didn't even think about me once." "Well, I'm sorry you feel that way," she said stiffly, clearly done with the conversation. "But this is how it is, Violet, and if you can't understand that, I don't know what to say." I swallowed hard, trying to steady my breathing. "You don't have to say anything," I said. "I'm done." And with that, I hung up. The silence that followed felt almost comforting. The phone buzzed again, but I didn't answer. I didn't care to. I could feel the weight lifting from my shoulders, even as the anger still simmered beneath the surface. For the first time in years, I didn't have to be the one to fix it. I didn't have to apologize for standing up for myself. And that feeling, though strange and unfamiliar, was liberating. The next few days were quiet, almost too quiet. My phone continued to buzz with messages and calls from my mom and Lauren, but I ignored them. I didn't want to hear their pleas. I didn't want to fix their mess. Not anymore. In the silence, I started to feel something new. Something that had been buried beneath years of guilt, frustration, and sacrifice. I started to feel free. Free from their expectations, free from their constant need for me to be the one who made everything right. But then the phone rang again, and I knew. This wasn't over. Not yet. By the time the phone rang again, I had already prepared myself for what was coming. I had spent days wrestling with my emotions, feeling the weight of every decision I had made, every word that had been spoken. I had allowed myself the space to breathe, to feel what I had been avoiding for so long. The guilt wasn't as crushing anymore. The hurt was still there, but it had started to fade into something more resolute. Something that told me I wasn't wrong for standing up for myself. When I picked up the phone, it wasn't my mom this time. It was Lauren. "Violet," she said, her voice dripping with impatience. "You need to fix this. You've really messed things up, you know that?" I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath. This was the moment. The moment where everything came to a head. The moment I would either cave in and go back to being their fixer, or stand firm and let the pieces fall where they may. "Lauren," I said, my voice steady but tinged with something colder than I had intended. "I'm not going to fix it this time. You can't keep expecting me to smooth everything over for you. I'm done." "Done?" She laughed bitterly. "You're so petty. Seriously, Violet, you've ruined everything. We're stuck here because of you. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? People are looking at us like we're idiots." Her words were sharp, cutting into me with every syllable. Embarrassing? I thought. My jaw clenched so tightly I thought I might break my teeth. "You think this is embarrassing? You want embarrassing?" I snapped, no longer able to hold back. "How about you try spending years being the one who's always pushed aside? How about you try being the one who's always expected to clean up everyone's mess but never gets any credit? Now that is embarrassing." I could hear her sigh from the other end of the line. "This is ridiculous. You're acting like a child, Violet. Just call the hotel and fix it. It's not that hard." I felt the anger flare up again, burning hotter than before. Child? That was the last straw. I had been treated like a child for so long, like my efforts didn't matter, like my feelings didn't matter. But I wasn't a child anymore, and I wasn't going to let them treat me like one. "No," I said firmly, "I'm not fixing anything, not this time. You want a vacation? You and Mom can figure it out on your own. I'm done." The line went silent, and for a moment, I thought maybe she had hung up, but then I heard her voice again, softer, tinged with annoyance and desperation. "Violet, why are you doing this? We're family. This is what family does. We help each other." My chest tightened, and I forced myself to breathe through the sting of her words. Family? She wanted to talk about family? All I had ever done was help them, fix their problems, clean up their messes, and now I was the bad guy for once deciding to stand up for myself. "Family doesn't do this to each other, Lauren," I said, my voice quiet but strong. "Family doesn't replace someone without a second thought. Family doesn't disregard years of sacrifice and hard work. Family doesn't treat one person like they don't matter." Another long silence followed, and then, almost in a whisper, she said, "I'm sorry, okay? But this whole thing is your fault. It didn't have to be like this." I shook my head, even though I knew she couldn't see me. "No, it's not my fault. This is on you. You and Mom and Dad. I'm not going to be the one who cleans it up anymore. Not this time." The phone clicked off, and I sat there, my heart pounding in my chest. The anger hadn't gone away, but something else had replaced it. A strange, new feeling. It wasn't just relief, it was power. I had finally done something for myself. I had finally said no, finally put myself first, finally let them see what it felt like when I wasn't there to take care of everything. But just as I felt the satisfaction of my decision, the phone buzzed again. This time, it was my mom. I hesitated for a moment before picking up. "Violet, I can't believe you," she started, her voice trembling with anger and hurt. "What did you think you were going to accomplish by doing this? What's wrong with you? You're punishing us. Your father is upset. Lauren is crying. What is wrong with you?" For a second, I almost felt a pang of guilt. Almost. But then I remembered the past. All the years I had spent making everyone else happy, making their lives easier, and in return I had been dismissed, overlooked, replaced. "I'm not the one who's wrong here, Mom," I said, my voice calm though it shook with emotion. "I didn't replace you. You replaced me. And now you want me to fix it? You want me to be the one to make everything okay again? Well, I'm done." I could hear her take a sharp breath. "Violet," she said softly, almost pleading now, "we didn't mean for it to happen like this. Please, please just fix this." "No," I said, cutting her off. "You made your choice. You chose Lauren over me, and I'm not going to be the one who sacrifices myself anymore. The line went silent, and for the first time in my life, I felt a strange sense of peace. I'm done, Mom, I whispered, my voice steady. Don't call me again until you can see things from my side. And with that, I hung up. The satisfaction of the moment was overwhelming, but there was something else too, a sense of finality. Something had shifted. I had drawn a line, and I wasn't going to let them cross it again. I was no longer the fixer. I was no longer the one who made everything better for everyone else. For the first time in years, I was living for myself. And that felt like freedom. The next few days were surreal. The silence, which had once felt deafening, was now a welcomed companion. I spent my time exactly how I wanted to, catching up on work, going through old photo albums, and organizing the mess that had accumulated in my life for far too long. For the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't have anyone demanding my time or energy. It was just me, alone in my own space, breathing freely without the weight of expectations pressing down on me. But as much as I tried to embrace the quiet, there was a lingering sense of unease, a gnawing feeling in the pit of my stomach. The guilt that had been building up for years, the fear of disappointing my family, still hovered in the back of my mind. It wasn't easy to push away. There were moments when I questioned if I had done the right thing, moments when the thought of my family struggling without me made my heart ache. I tried to ignore the buzz of my phone, the continuous stream of messages and missed calls that came from my mom and Lauren, but the curiosity got the better of me, and I opened my messages one evening. The first message was from my mom. "Violet, this is getting ridiculous. We've been trying to reach you. You need to fix this." I read it and felt a wave of anger rise within me. Fix it? After everything? After what they had done to me, I was supposed to fix it again? I deleted the message without replying. The second message was from Lauren. "This is so childish. Why are you acting like this? You're ruining everything. Just call the hotel and fix it. Stop being so petty." I could almost hear her voice in my head, dripping with entitlement, as though I owed her something. I clenched my jaw and shut off my phone. The last thing I needed was another guilt trip. But even after I shut out the noise, the anger lingered. I felt myself seethe every time I thought of them, how they had treated me, how they always pushed me aside for Lauren. I had spent years bending over backward, doing everything to make them happy, only to be discarded when it mattered most. Now they were trying to pull me back into the role they had always wanted me to play, but I wasn't going to fall for it again. Not this time. The days dragged on and the calls kept coming. My dad left a message. "Violet, we need to talk. This is really bad and we need to sort things out." I didn't call back. It wasn't that I didn't care, it was that I was exhausted. Exhausted from always being the one who picked up the pieces, always the one who made everything okay. I had done it for so long and it had drained me. And now when I finally decided to put myself first, they couldn't handle it. It was clear to me now. They didn't value me the way they should have. They didn't understand the sacrifices I had made. I wasn't just a fixer, a caretaker, a doormat. I was a person, with my own needs, my own desires. And for the first time in my life I was refusing to ignore them. I spent the next day cleaning the house, something I hadn't had time to do in months. I scrubbed the floors, reorganized the kitchen, and rearranged the living room. Every little task was like a small act of rebellion against the years I had spent putting everyone else's needs before my own. The satisfaction I felt was indescribable. I wasn't just cleaning my house, I was cleaning my life, taking control, reclaiming what was mine. Later that afternoon, I was sitting on my back porch, sipping a cup of tea when my phone buzzed again. This time I answered. It was my dad. "Violet." His voice was quieter than usual and I could hear the exhaustion in his tone. "We need to talk." I took a deep breath. I had already decided I wasn't going to back down. "Dad, I don't want to fight anymore. I'm not going to fix this. I'm not going to pretend everything is fine when it's not. I know you're upset, but..." "No, Dad," I cut him off. "I'm done being the one who fixes everything. You and Mom have treated me like I don't matter, like my feelings don't count. You chose Lauren over me and I'm not going to pretend that's okay." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. I could hear him sigh. "Violet, we didn't mean to hurt you." "Then why did you?" I asked, my voice firm but calm. Why do you always put Lauren first? Why do I always have to be the one who makes everything work? I don't know, Violet, he said, sounding defeated. I really don't. I exhaled sharply, feeling a weight lifting from my shoulders. For the first time I felt heard, not because he was apologizing or giving me the answers I wanted, but because he was finally acknowledging how I felt. I can't fix this, Dad. You'll have to figure it out without me. I've done enough. There was a long silence, and for a moment I thought he might say something else. But then, softly, he spoke. I just want you to know I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. I froze. The words hit me like a wave, knocking the wind out of me. For so long I had been the one trying to make them proud, trying to be everything they wanted me to be. To hear him say that, I'm proud of you, was all I needed. It was enough. I know, I said softly, my voice almost a whisper. I just need you to understand that this is about me too. It's about my life, my choices. I can't keep living for everyone else. I understand, he said quietly, but you'll always be our daughter, Violet. We love you. We'll figure this out, I promise. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The weight of those words settled over me like a blanket, warm and comforting. It was the first time in a long time that I felt like I could finally breathe. I hung up the phone, feeling a strange sense of relief wash over me. The aftermath of my decision was still unfolding, and I didn't know what would happen next. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid to be myself, to choose myself. And that, in itself, was a victory. The next few days were a blur of emotions. Anger, relief, sadness, and something else that I couldn't quite put my finger on. The anger was still there, simmering beneath the surface, but it was accompanied by a strange sense of peace. Peace that came from knowing, for once, I wasn't just catering to everyone else's needs. Peace that came from taking control of my life, and not apologizing for it. I had spent so many years doing what was expected of me. Trying to be the daughter they wanted, the responsible one, the one who never made waves. I'd been living for them, bending myself into shapes that fit their idea of who I should be. But now I was living for myself. The shift was subtle, but it was there, and it felt like I had finally found my own voice after years of silence. I spent the weekend in a way that felt completely foreign to me, doing nothing but what I wanted. I didn't have to take anyone's phone call. I didn't have to worry about whether my mom was upset or if Lauren was throwing a tantrum because things weren't going her way. It was just me, and I was learning how to enjoy my own company again. I started reading a book that had been sitting on my shelf for months, one I'd never had the time to open. I went for long walks around my neighborhood, taking in the small details I'd always missed. The smell of fresh coffee from the cafe down the street, the way the sun filtered through the trees in the park. I paid attention to the things I had been too busy to notice, too stressed to appreciate. But it wasn't all calm. Every time my phone buzzed, I felt a sharp pang in my chest. The calls from my mom continued, relentless, filled with guilt and frustration. There were a few from Lauren too, but I couldn't bring myself to answer them. I had made it clear that I wasn't going to fix things, and I wasn't going to let them manipulate me back into the same role. I thought about their words, how my mom had told me I was always the reasonable one, the one who kept everything together. I thought about the times I had sacrificed my own happiness to keep the peace, to make sure everyone else was comfortable. But now, for the first time, I realized I didn't have to keep everything together for them. I wasn't responsible for their happiness. I wasn't responsible for keeping the family's image intact. One evening, after a particularly long and draining day of work, I sat down at my kitchen table with a cup of tea. The silence in the house was comforting, yet somehow overwhelming. The weight of the decisions I had made still hung in the air, but it wasn't as heavy as before. I had come to terms with it. I wasn't backing down, and I wasn't going to apologize for prioritizing myself. As I sipped my tea, I found myself reflecting on the life I had been living up until now. It wasn't just the trip that had broken me, it was everything leading up to it. Years of being overlooked, years of being the fixer, years of sacrificing my own dreams to make sure others' needs were met. I had built my identity around being the one who made everything work, the one who took care of everyone. But in the process, I had lost myself. I had lost what I wanted, what I needed. The realization was painful but freeing. I had been so focused on their expectations that I had never given myself the space to dream my own dreams. I had never given myself permission to think about what I wanted from life. But now, I had the chance. It was time to rebuild. It was time to reclaim who I was. The next day, I started making plans. Not for anyone else. For me. I signed up for a photography class, something I had always wanted to do, but never had the time for. I started researching solo travel destinations, dreaming about places I had always wanted to visit but never had the courage to go to on my own. I looked into volunteering opportunities abroad, a dream I had kept buried deep down, always pushed aside in favor of what everyone else needed. I felt a sense of excitement that had been missing from my life for so long. It was a quiet excitement, but it was there, building within me. For the first time, I felt like I was in control of my own future. I didn't need permission from anyone. I didn't need anyone's approval. I spent the next few weeks making small changes that felt huge. I redecorated my living room, getting rid of the mismatched furniture that had always felt temporary, always felt like it wasn't mine. I replaced it with pieces that felt right, that felt like me. I started journaling every day, writing down thoughts I had never shared with anyone. I began making lists of goals, of dreams I had forgotten about or never thought were possible. Each step, each decision was a reclaiming of myself. It was a process of rediscovery, of finding out who I was without the influence of my family's expectations, without the pressure to always be the one who made everything. I wasn't just healing from the trip, I was healing from years of putting everyone else first. And then one day I sat down to look at my savings. The money that had been meant for the trip I had planned for them. At first, I thought about what it could have been, what it should have been. But instead of feeling regret, I felt determination. This wasn't going to go to waste. It wasn't going to stay tied to their trip, to their idea of what my life should be. I booked my solo trip to Italy. I didn't know exactly what it would look like, but I knew this was the start of something for me. Something that was just mine. The anticipation was almost too much to bear. I was scared, I was excited, but most of all, I felt free. For the first time, I wasn't afraid to go after what I wanted. I wasn't afraid to take the space I deserved. This was just the beginning. The weeks leading up to my solo trip were a whirlwind of excitement and nervous energy. Every time I thought about my upcoming journey to Italy, a mix of emotions swirled inside me. Excitement, yes, but also an underlying sense of wonder at how much I had changed. I wasn't just taking a vacation. I was taking control of my life. For the first time in a long while, I was doing something just for me. I continued my routine of small but significant changes. I threw myself into my photography class, capturing moments that felt important, even if only to me. The quiet satisfaction I found in taking pictures of things I had never noticed before, the way sunlight hit the old brick of a building or the reflection of the moon on a calm pond, was unmatched. I felt like I was truly seeing the world again, as if the haze that had clouded my vision for so many years was finally clearing. In the meantime, my parents' attempts to reach out continued. They texted, they called, they even sent letters. The messages ranged from angry to apologetic, but they were all the same at their core. An attempt to pull me back into the role I had so desperately tried to escape. But I didn't respond. I couldn't let them do that to me again. I had worked too hard to build the strength to stand my ground. One afternoon, as I was sitting in a small cafe, sipping a cappuccino and sketching in my journal, I received a text from my mom. This time, the tone was different. It was softer, quieter, filled with hesitation. "Violet, we've been thinking about everything that happened. I know we made a mistake. Your father and I, we didn't mean to hurt you. I hope we can talk soon." The message left me unsettled. I hadn't expected this. They had never been so direct in acknowledging how wrong they had been. For a long moment, I just stared at the screen, my emotions swirling. Part of me wanted to reply, to engage, to fix things. But I knew I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to let go of the boundaries I had worked so hard to establish. Instead, I put my phone down and took a deep breath. The quiet clink of coffee cups around me, the distant hum of the cafe, felt oddly comforting. It was a reminder of how far I had come. I wasn't the person who would jump to fix things anymore. Not unless I wanted to. Not unless it felt right. A few days later, I received another call. This time it was from my dad. I hadn't heard from him directly since the incident, and I wasn't sure how I felt about it. "Violet," he said, his voice strained. "I know you're upset, but this has gone on long enough. Your mom's been calling you for weeks now, and we need to talk. Please." There was a long pause, and I felt a knot form in my stomach. I could tell he was trying to reach me. To fix things the only way he knew how. Through guilt and obligation. I wasn't sure if I was ready to hear what he had to say, but I knew one thing. I couldn't go back to the way things were. I wouldn't. "I'm not ready to talk, Dad," I said, my voice steady. "I need time, I need space." His response was quiet, almost defeated. "I understand, but just know that we love you, and we want to make things right." His words, though kind, didn't hold the weight they used to. I had heard them many times before, each time followed by the same cycle of hurt and disappointment, but this time I didn't need them to fix anything. This time I was fixing myself. After the call, I felt oddly calm. There was no rush to resolve things with them. I had spent so long trying to earn their approval, trying to be the one who made everything right, that I had forgotten what it was like to just be, to be Violet, with no strings attached, no roles to play. As the days went on, I continued to focus on myself. I didn't feel guilty for not responding to their calls. I didn't feel the overwhelming need to make things better for them. I was reclaiming my life, one step at a time. By the time I boarded my plane to Italy, I was filled with a sense of accomplishment and peace. It wasn't just the trip itself that was important, it was everything that had led up to it. I was finally taking the time to live for myself, to do things because they made me happy, not because someone else expected me to. In Italy, I allowed myself to be free. The cobblestone streets of Rome, the art-filled galleries, the food, every moment was an opportunity for self-discovery. I wandered through museums, sat at cafes for hours, and explored cities I had only dreamed of. There was no schedule, no one else's desires to fulfill, just me, my thoughts, and the beautiful world around me. One evening, as I sat at a small bistro overlooking the Arno River, I took a moment to reflect on everything. The sun was setting, casting a golden light across the water. It was a quiet, peaceful moment, a moment that felt like the culmination of everything I had been through. For the first time, I realized that I didn't need anyone's validation. I didn't need to keep proving myself. I was enough, just as I was. When I returned home, my parents tried to reach out again, their messages softer now. They were apologetic, acknowledging their mistakes, but I wasn't in a rush to forgive. I knew the path to healing would take time, and that it wasn't my job to fix things for them anymore. I sat with her message for a long time, letting it sink in, feeling the weight of each carefully chosen word. It was the apology I'd been waiting for, an acknowledgement of the hurt I'd carried with me all these years. But more importantly, it was the offer of genuine dialogue, a dialogue on my terms. Taking a deep breath, I typed my reply. "I appreciate that, Mom. I'm open to talking soon, but I need you to know things will never be the way they used to be. I've changed, and I won't go backward." My finger hovered over the send button. A part of me worried that this would reopen old wounds, but a stronger part knew it was necessary. With a single tap, the message was sent. Her reply came a moment later. "I understand, Violet. We just want you in our lives, however you choose to be. Take your time." Those simple words brought an unexpected wave of relief. They didn't erase the past, didn't undo years of hurt, but they offered hope. Hope that my family could accept this new version of me, a version that no longer sought approval or bent over backward to maintain their comfort. Over the following weeks, I allowed myself to reconnect slowly. Short calls with my dad, casual lunches with my mom, all cautiously respectful of my newfound boundaries. Lauren remained distant, her pride wounded by my refusal to relent. But even her silence was something I learned to accept. I could no longer carry the burden of her emotions or the family dynamics that had once controlled me. Instead, I turned my focus inward, nurturing the person I had rediscovered. My photography flourished, becoming more than just a hobby. It became a passion. I opened a small gallery online, something I'd never dreamed I could achieve. Each photo sold felt like a personal victory, a testament to how far I'd come. On quiet evenings, I journaled, pouring my thoughts onto the page. My dreams were no longer overshadowed by others' expectations. Instead, they were vivid, clear reflections of what I wanted for myself. It amazed me how much I had ignored my own voice over the years. How little I had believed in myself until now. Then one afternoon, as golden sunlight spilled through the windows of my small studio, Grace came by with 2 cups of coffee and a knowing smile. "You look different," she remarked, handing me a cup, in a good way. I laughed, feeling genuinely happy. I feel different. It's strange, isn't it? All those years trying to keep everything together, to be perfect for them, and now I finally feel free. She nodded thoughtfully. "You deserve this, Violet, every bit of it. Don't ever forget that." Her words resonated deeply. For the first time I truly believed I deserved this happiness, this independence, this life that was entirely my own. As evening fell, I sat alone on my porch, the sky painted with streaks of vibrant orange and deep indigo. In that quiet, solitary moment, everything I'd gone through, every hurt, every sacrifice, every boundary crossed, felt worth it, because it had led me here. Here, to this exact moment of calm, of confidence, of self-awareness. My phone buzzed softly, and I glanced at the screen. A message from Lauren appeared. My heart skipped a beat, curious yet cautious. "Violet, I've been thinking too. I still don't fully understand everything, but I miss my sister. Maybe one day we can figure this out." I read her words, unsure whether to reply immediately or let them settle. But whatever happened next, I knew it would be on my own terms. No more compromises, no more putting myself last. I took a deep breath, feeling a quiet certainty I had never known before. The path ahead wasn't entirely clear, but it didn't frighten me anymore. I had finally found the strength to be myself, unapologetically. And for the first time in my life I felt completely and truly liberated.